Happy Halloween! Welcome to the Paul Regional Library's Spooky Time for Adults, where we'll be enjoying some stories from some classic authors. The tea is on and ready. Shall we get started? Shakespeare's Macbeth, Act 4, Scene 1. Thrice the brine cat hath mewed, thrice and once the hedge pig whined. Harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time. Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Toad that under cold stone, days and nights has 31, sweltered venom sleeping's got. Boil thou, first I, the charmed pot. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn, cauldron bubble. Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron, broil and bake. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. Adder's fork and blind worm's sting, lizard's leg and howler's wing. For charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn, cauldron bubble. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maws and goff. Of the raven, salt sea shark, root of hemlock, digged I the dark. Liver of a blaspheming Jew, gall of goat, and slips of yew. Silvered in the moon's eclipse, Norse of Turk and Tartar's lips. Finger of birth strangled babe, ditch delivered by a drab, make the gruel thick and slab. And thereto a tiger's cauldron, for the ingredients of our cauldron. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good. Passage from Dracula by Bram Stoker. Just as I had come to this conclusion, I heard a heavy step approaching behind the great door, and saw through the chinks and the gleam of a coming light. Then there was a sound of rattling chains and cranking of massive bolts drawn back. A key was turned with a loud grating noise along the disguise, and the great door swung back. Within stood a tall old man, clean-shaven save for a long white mustache, and clad in black from head to foot, without a single speck of color about him anywhere. He held in his hand an antique silver lamp, in which the flame burned without a chimney or a globe of any kind, throwing long quivering shadows as it flickered in the draught of the open door. The old man motioned to me with his right hand, with a courtly gesture, saying in excellent English, but with a strange intonation, "Welcome to my house. Enter freely and of your own free will." He made no motion of stepping to meet me, but stood like a statue, as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him to stone. The instant, however, that I had stepped over the threshold, he moved impulsively forward, holding out his hand, grasped mine with such strength which made me wince, in an effort which was not lessened by the fact it seemed cold as ice, more like the hand of a dead than a living man. Again he said, "Welcome to my house. Enter freely. Go safely and leave something of the happiness you bring." The strength of the handshake was so much akin to that I had noticed in the driver whose face I had not seen, that for a moment I doubted were not the same person to whom I was speaking. So to make sure, I said interrogatively, "Count Dracula?" He bowed in a courtly way and replied, "I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome, Mr. Harker, to my house. Come in, the night air is chill, and you must need to eat and rest." As he was speaking, he put the lamp on a bracket on the wall and, stepping out, took my luggage. He had carried it in before I could forestall him. I protested, but he insisted. "Nay, sir, you are my guest. It is late, and my people are not available. Let me see to your comfort myself." He insisted on carrying my traps along the passage, and then up a great winding staircase, and along another great passage on whose stone floor our steps rang heavily. At the end of this, he threw open a heavy door, and I rejoiced to see within a well-lit room in which a table was spread for supper, and on whose mighty hearth a great fire of logs, freshly replenished, flamed and flared. The Count halted, putting down my bags, closed the door, and crossed the room, opened another door, which led into a small octagonal room lit by a single lamp and seemingly without a window of any sort. Passing through this, he opened another door and motioned me to enter. It was a welcome sight, for here was a great bedroom, well lighted and warmed with a nether log fire, also added to but lately, for the top logs were fresh, which sent a hollow roar up the wide chimney. The Count himself left my luggage inside and withdrew, saying, before he closed the door, "You will need, after your journey, to refresh yourself by making your toilet. I trust you will find all you wish. When you are ready, come into the other room, where you will find your supper prepared." The light and warmth and the Count's courteous welcome seemed to have dissipated all my doubts and fears. Having then reached my normal state, I discovered that I was half famished with hunger, so making a hasty toilet, I went into the other room. I found supper already laid out. My host, who stood on one side of the great fireplace, leaning against the stonework, made a graceful wave of his hand to the table and said, "I pray you, be seated and sup, how you please. You will trust to excuse me that I do not join you, but I have dined already, and I do not sup." Because I Could Not Stop for Death by Emily Dickinson. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew to haste, and I had to put away my labor and my leisure too, for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields grazing grain. We passed the setting sun, or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamer my gown, my tippet only tulle. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than a day. I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. Thank you for joining us. Remember to subscribe to our new YouTube channel so you won't miss out on any future story times or other enjoyable programming.